What up?
What up? We are DV, and today is Sunday, March 30th, 2025. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you very, very much.
So, one of the things we're going to talk about today, because of a conversation we had yesterday with someone, reminded us of something. And I want to talk to you guys about, what do you think it's like for someone to grow up without a mother, right? Someone like us.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other people out there that grew up without mothers. And what are the effects on people? Matter of fact, what are the effects on a child? And then what are the effects on an adult? And we can even more conversations about the effects of how it affects men, how it affects men differently than it affects women.
Right. I'm going to say that next.
Yeah. So I'll start with a small example of mine personally. I think I'll just say this right off the bat. As an adult, I think it definitely affected me in some negative ways of growing up without a mother, and even as a child, it affected me growing up without a mother in some negative ways. I'll say that right off the bat. And I'm not even 100% sure so I could even say if there's ever any positives, to be honest with you. I'll start with that too, from my personal experience. What about you?
I think it definitely affected me a lot in my youth, and it affected me a lot still to this day. I could say, I won't say to this day, but up until my adulthood, I would definitely say it affected me in negative ways that I later realized when around the time my daughter was born. Certain things like just in terms of you could tell, there's been women in my life that pointed it out. They can tell that I hadn't been nurtured. I guess there's just a certain balance that a man has when he grew up with a woman, a mother, presence in his life.
Right. Right.
Now, I do want to say, it was just in terms of why our mom wasn't in our life or present in our life. We have a mother, yes, and we did have a relationship with her, but she just wasn't able to be present in our life like that because she was sick when we were young. So, so it just was what it was. Throughout our life, she got worse, progressively worse, and that was that. So that's how we grew up, being raised by primarily by our father. So with that being said, we really kind of lacked the woman nurturing side growing up. Now, as a man, in my personal experiences, I knew that was the issue with me because I would just see the differences through observation with other men and women that were raised with their mom. I would see certain things, certain qualities and certain things that just innately had that I didn't because...
You mean with understanding women?
I was saying for one, I was just saying with people in general. But yes, with dudes, I noticed men that were raised by women primarily or around women, they knew certain sensitivities about women that I just didn't pick up on. I just didn't. Not till I started to date more and grow up more as a young man.
Right.
But early on, I didn't understand a lot of things. I was not aware of it, completely fucking clueless. Right. But I noticed other dudes that were raised by their mom, they just naturally knew. They knew how to respond by certain things. Right. I just didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with that as well.
I didn't pick up on those
there was a lot of things I just did not understand about women that I noticed with my homies and shit like that who grew up with women. Matter of fact, primarily around women. They just knew they had certain sensitivities they were aware of and keen to that I was clueless about, and still sometimes struggle with it now as a 40-year-old man, right? But on the flip side, let's talk about this. I felt like because I was not sensitive to those things to women, I had a better outlook, a better awareness, I should say, with not falling for the sensitive stuff or the emotional stuff that men who grow up around women fall for it, right? Like, tell me if I'm wrong here. How many men we know that grow up around women, but a lot of times they're not really up on some of the, we'll say, the bullshit or the games that women will play sometimes. They're not up on it because of the fact that they're so close to the sensitivities of women that they're not able to step away from that and see it through the eyes that we've seen it sometimes.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
get what I'm saying?
yeah, I've definitely seen both sides. I've seen guys that were raised by women or around women primarily.
Right.
I've seen those guys that were really hip to that, and I've seen guys that definitely were not because they're so close to
them. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But more so,
I guess there is one positive.
more often than not, I do see guys like that were raised primarily around women or by women. Definitely, just they were more easily swayed by certain.
And that's what I'm talking. When I say the bullshit, I mean like how they get manipulated at times. You know what I'm saying? Through emotional ways.
Yeah.
Emotional. I'm not easily to be.
So what we're saying is that we see that those kind of guys in those situations are a little bit more easily swayed by women's emotions.
Emotions, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I am. I never have been. You know, not through emotion anyway.
Yeah, I will say that me personally, I've never been too moved by all that.
The crying, you know what I'm saying, I love you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some men are easily swayed through that.
Yeah.
Especially by sex, by pussy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neither of us are swayed that way. You know?
I mean, a good reason why I'm not moved by pussy is because early in life, I discovered pussy and I started to understand certain things, you know.
Well, I say it because of the fact that I, at an early age, saw how it was used. To manipulate
all of it, everything about it,
through our fathers, speaking of that, through our fathers' relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, as a single father raising us, we saw a lot of the ways that he got manipulated.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Pops, but we saw that, you know. So we saw a lot of ways how he got manipulated through pussy. And he'll admit it. We had those conversations, you know. He would admit that.
Yeah.
But he, you know, that was some of the things. But I think, growing up with my mother, some of the other ways I think I was affected by it was, I definitely had abandonment issues.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll say that.
I've worked through a lot of it now as an adult, but as a kid coming up and even young, like 20s, I definitely had major abandonment issues.
See, and the reason why we say, I think we say that is because, once again, our mother was actually still in our life most of our adult lives up until she was around. She was still alive up until we was in our 20s.
Well, not our adult life.
Well, we was in our 20s by the time she passed, so she was still around.
But we weren't around her, so it didn't matter.
But I'm saying she was alive around our
She was
adult
alive,
years. So she was around in our adult years, around up until 20. So she was, but the reason why we say, I think abandonment is because, yes, as a kid, when your mom's not, or your father, whoever, but, you know, when she's not in your life, it feels like abandonment. You know what I mean? At least that's how I perceive it, because abandonment means the person just wasn't there. He didn't ever see him.
Abandonment issues don't necessarily have to come from being abandoned. I'm just saying, abandonment issues come from however you felt at that time. It doesn't have
That's
to
what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm not saying she abandoned us if that's what you're trying to say. I'm not saying that.
I'm saying she didn't, and that's why it just feels like abandonment.
And I was explaining, if you let me finish, I was trying to tell the story about how I got that way.
Okay.
I got to the abandonment issues through her being not around. Not by her fault, but just saying because of a lot of things that I wasn't able to do with her, with a mother, at an early age got cut off. A lot of things that you would normally do with your mother, you would get from your mother, like you said, the nurturing and all that as a kid, that got cut off really early in our life. She was a very nurturing mother, actually, but like I said, she was out of our life pretty early in our life, say about what, 11 years old? I'd say about 11.
Shit. Yeah, basically. That's when they divorced, so yeah.
Yeah, about 11 years old, she was physically out of our life. Yes, she was at a nursing home, and we would go visit her. But at that point, there was a lot of times where she couldn't talk. She couldn't do a lot of things to interact. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely couldn't really be much of a mother. And I also want to say personally, for me, I didn't even feel close to my mom even then because she was a very busy woman. She worked when she was healthy. She worked a lot. You know, she was the main breadwinner in the house at the time. My dad was kind of like a stay-at-home dad for a long time, and he worked, but a lot of times there were times where he was just with us all that. So we built a closer relationship with him. There was a lot of love there when we were with her, but for me, I never really had much of a relationship with her anyway, like as far as seeing her that much, to talk to her that much, you know what I'm saying, have these one-on-one personal conversations like we did with our dad. I didn't get much of that. So in that sense, I never really had that connection even before her getting sick. So that's why I say I definitely feel like I grew up without a mother, you know what I'm saying, even earlier with that. But, so yeah, I definitely formed some abandonment issues with that, and that shit spilled over into my relationships, you know, it spilled over to my relationships, and even then, like I just told you, some of the sensitivity that most men might, or a lot of men, not say most, a lot of men might be keen to, I did not know about, so I was very unaware of it, even in my adult life. You know what I'm saying? And it's still not easy to connect with that sometimes. As sensitive as I am, believe it or not, as a Pisces man, I still have a lot of issues with connecting with that. And yeah, so those are some of the things. What else do you think maybe you might have been personally affected by it?
And definitely, I guess. Oh, I mean, shit, for sure. The obvious is that I definitely what they call. I had some mommy issues. I didn't even realize that until maybe. I would say definitely in my 20s again. You know, I just with all the past like ex-girlfriends and stuff that I had I had a certain pattern. I had certain patterns with all these different women like in my life. And it was pretty obvious at that point I had some mommy issues because of the way that I would approach the relationship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just I didn't really know how to deal with a nurturing woman for a long time. You know, because it was so foreign to me. You know, I was so used to just kind of just doing my thing, taking care of myself in whatever way I could, you know, because it's just like that. I think for some reason, when my dad, you know, he's a single father raising boys.
Right.
But I feel like a mother would be a little bit different. But for us, it was that experience, we didn't get all that. You know, we just kind of had to just work it out, you know.
Right.
Especially if you get hurt, you know.
Like the hugs and kisses you get from a nurturing mother.
People with mothers, they naturally get that, which that's what mothers do.
Right. Dad was just shaking off, boy.
Yeah, and that's what you get from a father for the most part, especially with the boy. You know, young boys, they're gonna tell them, you know, I don't want you. You don't want to see your son crying over everything. You know, you want him to be balanced.
Right.
And that's speaking of which, and that's what another part of not growing up with a mother will do for a person. You just grow up a little bit imbalanced in certain ways, you know, and it manifests in a lot of different things, you know, psychologically, you know, you're gonna have certain things, you know. So like I said, I had mommy issues. I would put too much onto women, like not even realizing, like, she's not your mom, bro.
Like you want them to take care of you.
Like you want them to take care of you. Now, for some reason, I naturally attracted a lot of women who just wanted to do that, which I'm grateful for. You know, they held me down. I'm very blessed.
That's natural. Yeah. There's a person who needs nurturing. You're gonna attract somebody who likes to nurture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know, it just things like that. You know, and that's just and I think that goes for men and women who grew up without a mother and that nurturing presence. You know.
Right. That's true. I also seen it. I want to say that I've also, and not just us, I've seen some of these same traits in our three brothers. Yeah. We have three older brothers. And also, for the most part, grew up with just their dad. Yeah. You know, they had their own fathers too. And I just from my observation and conversations with them all, they definitely, and I'm pretty sure they would all agree to that they've also had a lot of that going on as well. And I don't know if they would attribute it to growing up without a mother, but I definitely do believe that though. You know, so I seen it not just us, I seen it in other men too. You know, so yeah, I think that there are some definitely drawbacks in growing up with a mother. I think it's super important. I don't know if I said this before, but I definitely think if we're talking about raising a balanced human being, it should be with both sexes. That's just my opinion. I ain't saying I'm correct in this, but I'm just telling you my opinion from my observation and my experiences. I think it's most healthy with a man and a woman. Now, let's talk about, you want to get into real quick about same-sex parents? So what, same-sex parents? I still think as long as there's that masculine principle and that that energy, that masculine energy and that feminine energy, it still all works out the same. Yeah, I feel like a woman can definitely deliver masculine energy if she wanted to. You know, it's just a man can do the opposite. A man can do the same. I look at things in terms of energy, not. I don't look necessarily has to be about. Yeah, I don't necessarily look at, because if you just look up the word, not to get off track, I'm just gonna keep it real simple though. But if you look up the word gender itself, it's not even necessarily assigned to a male or a female. I'm just telling you the science, nigga. Don't argue with me. Look it up. Go fucking look it up. Don't argue with the science. I'm just saying. I'm leaving arguments in the comments. I don't give a fuck. Speak to us in the comments, but I don't need no argument. I don't give a shit about arguing. You're right. If you think you're right, you're right. Let's just get this out the way. I'm not saying either way. I'm just telling you what I've read. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I think, it's all about balance at the end of the day. And I think that can be achieved in many different ways. Right. But I do think the best way to get to that balance is to the even amount of both of those. You know what I'm saying? The masculine and because remember there's the dudes that we know that grew up with their moms in their life. They still sometimes
they end up growing up into a very balanced man. You know what I mean?
It does happen.
But then you also got some guys that grow up that are way too emotional.
Or way on, let's just say more on the feminine side. We'll say it like that.
I mean, that's only because emotions are associated with feminine energy.
Right. That's why I say that, right.
But the ultimate idea, I think, for any adult is to grow up into a balanced human being.
And then you could be that guy who was way to the other side of the masculine shit and almost be on some super macho shit, you know what I mean? And we know men that way as well, you know, who brought up around it with their father, you know? And to be honest with you, I'm actually surprised we didn't turn out that way because we saw a lot of it, you know?
Yeah, like, but you know what was crazy? Like, something about that, like, even like growing up as a kid, when I would see all that, all the bravado shit, I kind of understood it for what it was.
You knew it was bullshit.
Like, this motherfucker's scary.
You see guys, super tough guys. Those are usually the scariest ones.
I kind of understood that, you know. I don't know. Even now when I see it, I still recognize it for what it is. I'm just like, okay.
That really comes from insecurity, I think.
But you know, that's why it's important. You know, try to maintain some balance about yourself.
Right.
You know, no matter who you are. You know. But yeah, so I definitely think there's some good things about growing up with her. Well, I actually know there's a lot of good things growing up with your mother. Like, for one, let me say, my daughter growing up with her mom, you know, like being close to her mom, I love their relationship. I see how balanced she is because of it. And of course me, you know, but I was like, there's nothing like a mother. Like, mothers, they provide so much, like, I hate to say it, but more in its own way. And I have no problem admitting that. That's just the way universe is made, you know, the way the female is made, you know, they just can offer so much more, and which is what helps develop a human being into a balanced human being. The fact that mothers can, you know, they can nurture with their breasts. That's just one biological fucking crazy superhuman being thing that women do, you know, not to mention what goes into that process. Like, it's crazy, man, because I watched my daughter was breastfed, so I was just like, you see how much smarter she is, you know? It's like, these are the things that are just what help, that are just so vital to having a person development, you know what I mean? To a full being. So, you know, a mother is definitely extremely vital in a person's life in a lot of different ways. But you know what? This is where it comes in, where they say that, let me just say this, we have many different mothers in our life.
Yeah, for sure. Mother figures, for sure.
Mother figures, yes, because, and that goes to, shout out to all my aunties. I love all y'all, because they all played a very vital part in my life.
Including some of the ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, and ex-girlfriends.
Let's be honest.
Fuck it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I say that to say this. That's why they say it takes a village, you know? But yes, if you really think about it, if you're blessed enough, a lot of us have many different mothers in our lives, you know?
Yeah.
I know I did.
For sure.
I'm very grateful for all of them, and I'm still glad to have a lot of them in my life. A lot of great women. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things that come with that. You know, taught me a lot of stuff. You know, all the women in my life always made me. I think would help me achieve balance. You know, I learned from a lot of things, a lot of people around me. Anyway, I try to. But from most of the dopest things that I've observed, just about how to handle life, really, from a lot of the women around me too, you know. I learned a lot with, one of the things I learned from women was how to put ego aside. For sure. Not saying there aren't women out there with egos, but I see it a lot more, I see it a lot less in women than I see it with men. Yeah. Not saying we don't have ego. What I'm trying to say is they know how to put it in check, you know what I'm saying, put it like that. I've seen two women who call themselves enemies, and they had, for very good reasons, by the way, right? Literally, I've seen this happen. For two very good reasons, these two women were enemies. But one of the women saw the other one in pain about something that happened to do with a man. And she put that bullshit aside so fast and said, woman to woman, I'm going to help her out with this because woman to woman, we've been through this before. For sure. And I thought it was a beautiful thing, man. I wish I knew how to do that as a man, you know? Because if you're an enemy of mine, I'm not putting nothing aside. That's what this is going to be, you know what I mean? Yeah, it takes a lot. But when I saw that, man, it softened my heart and it made me go, damn, that's an amazing thing that a woman, I think maybe, I'm not saying only women can do, but because I can do it because I've learned, like I said, but they do it the best, you know? And that is one thing that, you know, I think I could have got a little more of if I had gone up with more of a mother's presence in life. For sure, you know? For sure.
Definitely got that.
I agree with that.
But our sister, I gotta give a shout out to her. Definitely played
Yeah.
a mother role in our life when we was about
sister.
19. We was about 19, and we at that time needed a mother. We needed the guidance and the you know, the love of a mother. We got it from her. We really did. You know, and to this day, she still plays a mother-like figure in our life as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just that was one of the many things that I think I could have benefited from of I growing up with a mother. You know. That was an amazing thing that I saw, and I still think it's dope. You know, one of the almost I almost want to say exclusive things that is to a woman. You know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think men can do it, but not as well as they do it.
Nah.
Not with that. You know?
I figured that out, especially after seeing my daughter be born, just seeing everything my daughter's mom developed into. You know, as a mother. Fucking amazing. My mind was blown.
Right.
You know, and it just started to make sense. I was like, it doesn't matter what we do. We ain't gonna ever be able to do that.
Right.
You know, a father could, which is very necessary in in a person's life as well. Well, but in this subject, we're talking about moms. And I've just seen what fathers can do. You know, it's like you can be the best you can. That's all you can do, the best you can with what you can do.
Right.
But mothers, that's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
God bless.
So yeah, like those are the things, you know, we talked about some of the positives of growing up with, or not positives, but some of the good things that you can get from growing up with a mom, but some of the negative sides of growing up with a mom as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, as always, I'm sure if you can relate, I'm sure you do, or if you know somebody who does relate to this and learned anything from it, go ahead, leave some comments in there. Let us know what you think. You know, do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah.
Leave some comments. Make sure to share it with somebody who might actually relate to this as well. Like the video, you know. Please do. We need that. That's what keeps this connection going.
For sure. So yeah, I appreciate y'all, whoever tuned in. If you got something from this, man, you're welcome. Thank you for even being here. I appreciate you.
Definitely.
I love you.
For sure.
And I love myself. I love you because I love myself. So love yourself for yourself.
Cool.